Well, in 1996, I was performing as I had been since 1974, and I was informed that University of Western Ontario, that as it was called then, University of Western Ontario was looking for somebody who might be interested in opera. Actually, it was my agent that called me and said, by the way, they're looking for someone. I said, oh, really? I said, well, I don't know. I had been at UBC for 1 year and I hadn't really enjoyed the politics and the place enough. Vancouver was a touch on the expensive side to really have a family home like we wanted to. And so I thought, whatever, I'll just keep singing, which I did. And that had been a few years before. So I went to, I said, well, what's the deadline? This was, I think, a Tuesday. And she said, well, the deadline is this Friday. I said, well, somebody could have told me. She said, well, it turns out that Maureen Forrester had recommended that I apply for this. I said, well, no one told me. That would be a nice thing. If someone had told me, I said I might have applied. She said, well, what do you think? I said, well, I guess it couldn't hurt. So I pulled up my old resume that I had used previously for that kind of interview or application, and I updated it as fast as I could, and I faxed it to the University of Western Ontario and sent, I think on the Thursday, I sent it by courier, so they got it on either the Friday or the Monday. Actually, or very early the next week, maybe the Tuesday or Wednesday, I got a call saying you're on the short list. And about 10 days later, I came here and did a short recital with Irena helping me do a short recital. My wife sang with me. And I did a little bit of teaching with people listening. Hopefully they learned something. I like saying that. And I was offered the job within a few days after that. So that was my experience. That's how it happened. And then there was suddenly a big decision to make as a family and in terms of career and life. But it was certainly the right decision. We of course had to move, which is something we didn't terribly want to do, having just put a big addition on our house in Kitchener, but we did. And I'm very glad we did. It's had its moments, of course. And then I got here and I realized that I was what they called a special presidential appointment, because they had not had many appointments at all. That was in a kind of a real downturn in terms of money for post-secondary school education. And the Faculty of Music had received this appointment. They had decided they wanted to try to grow the opera program a bit. And so I came, and in that fall, I started the opera. They had had opera previously, and that a little bit. But I saw it. The year I accepted the job was just prior to the performance of the opera, which used to be after reading week. And I came in and saw the opera that they did, and I was not unimpressed. I thought it was, wow, that's possible. I believe that, in fact, John Tessier was in that particular opera. It was just as he graduated. And I wasn't here when he was here, but it's just after he graduated that I got here. And he's now a friend, which is kind of interesting. But in any case, I did that, and I saw it, and I thought, okay, I think there's possibility. Well, I mean, I'd already accepted the job. So that next year we had opera auditions, as we do in the fall, and 25 people auditioned. There was one master's student, but he was already graduating, and so I didn't have him. We took 25, and we did, we did Trouble in Tahiti by Bernstein, which is a one-act opera, and we did Angélique by Baerg, which is also, we did it in English, which is also a one-act opera. And it's very, very funny. And a double cast immediately, even though we had 25, because everybody did everything. I think we did 4 performances. They were extremely well received. And from then on it grew. The vocal program, to say the least, grew, because this year we have over 200 people in voice here. And we have a master's program with 40, a DMA program with 13 or 14 singers. At that point, there wasn't a DMA program. And I don't think, there probably were 50 or 60 total voice students. So the place has really, really grown, and that was the mandate, to make that happen. And my feeling about it was to bring as much professional relevance to the academic, to the university experience as possible, given that we are here to teach people. In other words, if they knew everything that they needed to do to be a professional, there'd be absolutely no reason for them to come. However, they have to be receptive to what the realities of the business are. That continues to probably be the most challenging part of the job. And I will say, without wanting to cause anyone stress about it, it's often more difficult to or in the past, and now it's pretty good, but in the past it's been more difficult to actually educate the educators as to what opera needs than it is to educate the students. But now the support is really tremendous from my colleagues. And there's always exceptions, but they also have their own areas that they really need to grow and work on, and that causes them to really want to do something too. And there's a limited amount of resources and a limited amount of time. And students aren't here only to take voice. They're here to get a really good general music education. Some of them even more wide than that. Many of them will become teachers, even in the secondary and elementary school systems. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's wonderful, as long as our system continues to teach some music to some people, which has been an issue we all know about. But other than that, the program has grown tremendously. The issues are always that of time and resources. But the resources have grown a lot. In those initial years, the budget for opera was exactly and no more than ticket sale revenue. And that doesn't cover my salary and the salary of the conductor, who we were all faculty here. But that is the issue. And now it's grown far, far beyond that. So I mean, certainly ticket sales to make a bulk of the revenue, but now of course there's guest directors and lighting designers and everything else that come into it, and it's a little more complicated and certainly costs more. But still, we really do opera on a shoestring, and it doesn't always look that way. Sometimes it really has been terrific. In fact, the last few years I've been pretty happy with it myself, given the realities. And the reality is we try to do as much as possible in an educational situation to help people to learn, and also to experience the schedule as it would be in a professional company. Because the schedules I made right from the beginning look very similar to the kind of schedules that I got every week at the Canadian Opera Company. And I did a lot of over 70 contracts with them, so I did receive a few schedules over the 30, the last thing I did with them was in 2001, so there was just about 35 years worth of singing for them. So I did do a few schedules over time. Received, and I always had great interest in how the actual opera was put on technically. So when I got here, there was no big surprise to me that all this other stuff had to happen. I certainly hadn't done it all. I had consistently over the years built a few of my own props simply because I enjoyed doing that. But if you have some knowledge of it, it's very important. Similarly now, to students, I encourage them, if they're not cast in something and they really are that interested, they should come out especially in their early years, and be part of the production team, because they'll learn all about the business, and you'll find that they may find it so interesting they turn into one of the world's greatest directors. There is this colleague of mine who directs here called Michael Cavanaugh, who is now a world famous director, who started out many, many years ago, not here, but as a singer, and realized that I guess it was much better opportunity for him to be in production, and he started out as assistant director, stage manager, assistant director, and now, of course, for many years already, he's a director. I've done many operas with him as a director, and I think it's very important that people realize there's much, much more to being a professional in the arts than just necessarily singing or playing. The arts need really knowledgeable people, and there's nothing more, from my perspective as a performer, nothing more enjoyable than getting to a symphony or a opera company and realizing that one of the people in charge you have to deal with every day actually studied performance music, not just business. So they understand how hard you work to get there and how much work it is to continue in that area as a professional. So there's an understanding and appreciation for that, and often the schedule will reflect that, a reality of like, you can't work that hard. There's a certain limit to what it takes to make things effective.